This podcast was written and created by Avi Melamed, Middle East intelligence analyst and founder of the Inside the Middle East Institute.
Avi Melamed is exploring with us the current U.S.-Israel-Iran war that started on Saturday morning, February 28, 2026. Let's dive in.
Right. So to really unpack the dynamics of Day 11 in this conflict, we're looking at a highly effective framework from Avi Melamed. He suggests treating this complex geopolitical situation as well as a high-stakes multiplayer poker game.
And in this scenario, the cards aren't your typical aces and kings. They are the actual livers of statecraft.
Exactly. Things like military endurance or how much risk a country is willing to stomach.
Right, and domestic consensus, too. So if you want to understand how the region is navigating this, you really have to look at the hands they've been built and exactly how they're playing them.
Let's start by looking at the Iranian regime. Their strongest card is absolute clarity. I mean, their strategic objective is simply survival at any cost.
Plus, they hold that massive economic pressure lever.
Right, the Strait of Hormuz. By threatening that narrow waterway where a huge chunk of the world's oil flows, they can seriously disrupt global energy markets.
And they also have proxies to do a lot of the heavy lifting. Using groups like Hezbollah or Shiite militias, and the Houthis allows them to wage a long war of attrition without committing all their direct forces.
Yeah, and there's a grim advantage here, which Avi Melamed points out. The regime largely ignores the welfare of its own citizens.
Maintaining domestic consensus just isn't a priority for them during wartime?
No, it's not. But that doesn't mean their hand is bulletproof. They've sustained severe cumulative damage to their military and governmental infrastructure.
Which undermines their deterrence.
Exactly. And it carries a real risk of sparking major domestic unrest.
So despite the damage, they're staying at the table?
They are. Avi Melamed's assessment is that the regime believes its strong cards still give them enough endurance to keep going. In poker terms, they're raising the bet. They're essentially going all in.
If Iran is doubling down, how are the Arab Gulf states responding? Because they have a very different hand to play.
Very different. Their strong cards are rooted in robust defensive capabilities and significant offensive air power.
Particularly from Saudi Arabia and the UAE.
Yes, and they also hold a unique economic weapon. They have the ability to freeze or even confiscate Iranian financial assets held within their banking systems.
Wait, but if they escalate, aren't they taking a huge risk? I mean, their economies rely heavily on assets that are completely out in the open.
That is their major vulnerability. Their energy infrastructure, maritime transport routes, and tourism sectors are highly exposed.
So in a prolonged conflict, those are significant weak cards, which makes this a very bad gamble for them.
Precisely. The costs of a drawn-out war easily outweigh the benefits for the Gulf states. So their strategy isn't to drag this out. Avi Melamed notes they want to force a showdown.
To end the war quickly and push everyone toward negotiations.
Right. Which brings us to Israel. Now, they obviously hold strong cards when it comes to military and intelligence superiority.
Not to mention highly effective missile interception capabilities and very strong civilian resilience.
True. But Avi Melamed identifies critical weaknesses in their hand right now, too. A major one is the lack of a clearly defined strategic objective for the war.
You also have the immense strain of fighting on multiple fronts.
And the sheer exhaustion. The psychological and physical toll on civilians dealing with constant missile attrition is a real factor.
So how does that shape their endgame? Their priorities clearly differ from those of the U.S. and the Gulf states.
They do differ, but here is the crucial dynamic Avi Melamed points out. The United States largely dictates how this war ultimately ends.
Because of that overarching U.S. influence and the existential stakes, Israel, much like Iran, has calculated that they must commit fully.
Exactly. According to Melamed, Israel is also all in.
And this is where it directly impacts you listening. We aren't just talking about distant political maneuvers. These regional poker hands dictate global energy prices and international stability.
The ripples of this conflict reach far beyond the Middle East. They potentially affect your local economy and your daily life.
It leaves us with a critical question to consider based on Avi Melamed's analysis. If the United States ultimately holds the cards to dictate how this conflict concludes, what specific pressure will it take to force players who are currently all in to finally step away from the table?
This podcast is made possible by supporters like you. ITME is an independent, nonprofit institute committed to apolitical, intelligence-based Middle East education.
To learn more or to support our work, visit our website www.insidethemiddle-east.com.